It is a little after 7 o'clock. We will reconvene this regular meeting of the Waco ISD Board of Trustees. We have been in closed session in accordance with section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. No action was taken. On behalf of the board, at least those of us who are here tonight, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And also we want to extend a warm welcome to anybody watching at home on Channel 17. I would like to remind you that any action taken tonight has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, and also remind you, as I do every month, that the board's purpose is to set goals, listen to reports of the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. We are not here to make management decisions or to solve problems of individuals, as management is the sole responsibility of the superintendent and his staff. At this time, if you've got a cell phone or other electronic device, if you would turn it off or silence it, we'd appreciate it so we can get through the agenda with some quickness. And with that, we will come to item 5 on the agenda, and we would ask that you join us as we pause for a moment of silence to send our thoughts and prayers to the victims and the families and the survivors at Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and also pause for prayer, contemplation, reflection, or meditation. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. DeBeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we are pleased to be joined by a fifth grader from Brook Avenue Elementary School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please welcome Talia Joiner. Talia is accompanied by the principal of Brook Avenue, Ms. Sarah Pedrati. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Talia. Dr. Nelson, members of the board, please join me in front of the dais for tonight's special recognitions. We'll begin the special recognition portion of our meeting this evening with an introduction of our pledge leader who attends Brook Avenue Elementary School. Talia Joiner is a fifth grader at Brook Avenue Elementary and says that her favorite subject in school is math. She also participates on the student council, and in her spare time, Talia enjoys dancing. Talia's teacher at Brook Avenue says she is a very hard worker who takes pride in what she does. She is also a strong leader and very respectful. When she grows up, Talia wants to become a judge. Talia's parents, Tiara Smith and Daryl Joiner, have accompanied her here tonight. Would you please stand so we can recognize you and thank you for sharing your daughter with us this evening. Over the past few months, we've had the pleasure of recognizing students for their exceptional performances in all-region band and choir auditions. And tonight, we're going to continue to recognize some fine arts students for their exceptional musical abilities and their achievement in recognizing Waco ISD in regional and state competitions. Tonight's students come from the choir program at Waco High School. Members of this group recently competed in a solo and ensemble contest, earning a 1 and qualifying them for the state solo and ensemble contest. Several of these students also previously auditioned and earned a spot in the all-region pre-area or area choir. The following students qualified for the state solo and ensemble contest with their solos: Faith Allen, Devontae Bible, Derby Carlson, Molly Hepp, Arika Powell, Billy Smith, Isaac Sutton, and Michael Wood. Our next group of choir students qualified for the state solo and ensemble contest as the member of an ensemble. First, Alyssa Riggs. And Allison Pendleton, who qualified for state with both a solo and ensemble. In addition to qualifying for state with their solos, this next group of choir students was selected for the all-region choir. Gipram Galino, Roberto Guevara, Haley Naif, Jairo Romero, Harper Singletary, earning a spot in the all-region choir and qualifying for state with both a solo and as a member of an ensemble, Chloe Maddox. And finally, I'd like to introduce Libby Grant, who's a state qualifier in both solo and ensemble, selected for both the all-region and pre-area choirs. Emily Hines, our state qualifier in both solo and ensemble, and selected for both all-region and pre-area as an area alternate. The Waco High School Choir Program is under the direction of Assistant Director Christy Lujan and Director Carrie Forehand. Mr. Ed Love is the principal at Waco High School. And I'd like to ask, if you're the parent of one of these outstanding musicians, would you please stand so we can thank you for sharing their talents with us? Congratulations again to these students and best of luck at the State Solo and Ensemble Contest. In 1988, Waco ISD began an effort to address the need for intervention with at the earliest possible age with children in our community by initiating the Parents as Teachers program. In 1988, the program began with just one parent educator. Since then, the program has grown to 5 educators, 2 of whom are bilingual. They serve 89 families and 111 children. They begin serving children with prenatal services and continue through the age of 4. We're excited because our Parents as Teachers program recently received national recognition by earning an endorsement as a Blue Ribbon affiliate. This endorsement marks it as one of the top performing early education and home visiting affiliates within the International Parents as Teachers Network. Being named a Blue Ribbon affiliate affirms that Waco ISD is a high-quality member of the home visitation and parent education field and is implementing the evidence-based Parents as Teachers model with fidelity. This is a program that makes an incredible impact on families in our community, and the work behind this recognition demonstrates the depth of expertise and dedication among the people who make up the program. Tonight, I'd like to ask you to join me in recognizing our 5 parent educators, beginning with Anita Henderson. Regina Cotton. Paulisa Ramos. Jaquetta Sims. And parent educator Yuri Gonzalez was unable to join us tonight, but we'd like to thank Yuri as well. The program is led by our early childhood education coordinator and parents as teachers supervisor, Dr. Mary Conrad. And I just want to share a comment Dr. Conrad made before this evening's meeting. She said that preparing the materials to receive this designation was actually more grueling than preparing her dissertation. So I think that gives you a feel for the depth of the process. We also want to acknowledge Dr. Conrad tonight for the pre-kindergarten program that she oversees in the district. Recently, the state reached out to Dr. Conrad to collaborate with her to use Waco ISD's pre-kindergarten program as a model statewide. Congratulations once again to Dr. Conrad and her parents as teachers and pre-kindergarten teams. Waco ISD is fortunate to have a community of individuals, businesses, and organizations who all share our goal of improving education and giving students and teachers the tools that they need to be successful. One of the organizations that is an absolutely key partner for Waco ISD is Baylor University. And among the multitude of partnerships with Baylor, the partnership with their School of Education for our professional development schools truly stands out. Through this partnership, students in Baylor's School of Education have the opportunity to work as teacher trainees on our campuses and to engage with our students working alongside our teachers to hone their craft. The partnership takes an immense dedication and commitment from both Waco ISD and Baylor University, and we're proud to celebrate tonight that that commitment and that partnership has truly paid off. Just a few weeks ago, the National Association for Professional Development Schools announced that the partnership between Baylor University and Waco ISD was selected for the 2018 Exemplary PDS Achievement Award. This is a prestigious national recognition, and we're excited to celebrate it with our colleagues and friends from Baylor University. And tonight, I'd like to ask you to join me by welcoming first, Baylor University Partnership Liaison and Director of Professional Practice, Dr. Crystal Gorey. The Interim Dean of the Baylor University School of Education, Dr. Terrell Saxon. And representing the PDS team at Waco ISD, our Assistant Superintendent of School Improvement, Ms. Yolanda Williams. We also have a group of people in the audience this evening who participate in the PDS partnership in a variety of ways. If you're part of the PDS program and partnership, would you please stand so we can thank you for your contributions as well? This award will be presented formally at the National Association of Professional Development Schools Conference in Florida next month. And that concludes our special recognitions for tonight's program. Thank you.
Get that to her. That's good. Thank you.
All right, congratulations to all the students and staff, community members who we recognize this evening. Item 8 is the audience for guests. My understanding, nobody has signed up, correct? So we'll go to item 9, which is the consent agenda. The staff has asked me to pull item K. Is there anything else anyone wants pulled from the consent agenda? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda with the exception of item K.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cordwag. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. We'll move on to item 10, reports and discussion. Item A is the continuous improvements governance framework. First is the mid-year iStation results. Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce this time our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education, Bilingual, and ESL Services, Mrs. Grace Benson, to take us through this particular agenda item.
And I'll note for the record, it is 7:18 as we begin this discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, esteemed Board of Trustees and our Superintendent, Dr. Nelson. I'm here tonight to talk about our mid-year progress in literacy as assessed by iStation. This addresses Board Goal 1, increase the percentage of third grade students reading on grade level as measured by STAR from 54% to 83% by 2020. I will be addressing the progress measures for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade tonight and providing you with a mid-year update. In looking at the data and in comparing 2017 and 2018, during February of 2018, 49% of students were at Tier 1 in comparison with 46% in 2017. To reach our 2018 goal, we need to be at 55%, and as of now, we are on pace to make that goal if we continue to increase at this rate. During February of 2018, 45% of students were at Tier 1 in comparison to 39% of first graders in 2017. This is more of a stretch goal for us, and in order to make our goal for 2018, we need to be at 60%. And I'll be discussing more about that in a minute. Our next goal is for second grade, and this is our update for second grade, our mid-year update. During February of 2018, 50% of students were at Tier 1 in comparison with 48% in 2017. While our students are growing and continuing to make progress, we still have much more progress we need to make in order to reach our goals that we set for 2018. We have put many interventions into place, and we also have the Achieve 3000 program that we've also implemented through our blended learning. And in a moment, I'll be bringing up Ms. Donna Trigg, our elementary reading coordinator, to talk about some of the great things that we've been doing, especially to address our Tier 1 instruction and to help our students in kindergarten and first grade make gains. Another area that I want to address is to have you just give you a glimpse of where our third graders are at this year as compared to last year. During February of 2018, 50% of students were at Tier 1 at grade level in comparison with 46% last year at this time. All areas assessed, comprehension, vocabulary, spelling, and text fluency, showed growth, with the exception of spelling that remained the same at 47%. Less of our students were also at Tier 3 in February 2018 when compared to 2017. The next report is an important report that I wanted to share with you. It is called the Annual Rate of Improvement Report by iStation. When you look at this report, please don't look at the graph as number of students, but as the rate of growth for groups of students across the tiers. When we look at this report, what iStation does is it looks at students in groups, and then it places them at a mid-year point to see the rate of growth of our students at each tier. As you can see, in 2017, our students in Tier 3 were making moderate growth, At Tier 2, they were making moderate growth. And in Tier 1, low levels of growth. If you look at this year, we are making high growth for our Tier 3 students, moderate growth for our Tier 2, and low growth for our Tier 1, which is another reason we're going to talk a little bit more about what we're doing to address that. But what I really want to highlight in this report is the incredible rate that our Tier 3 students are growing. Tier 3 students, in order for students to grow at Tier 3, they have to make a gain of at least 8% percentile points. So this is a huge gain for our students. It shows that our interventions for our students are working. It shows that we right now have in place at the campuses leveled literacy intervention. We have after-school tutorials. We just recognized Baylor. We have Baylor students that are coming in to work with some of our campuses. And we have an incredible amount of work around just how to teach literacy for all of our teachers so that they can become prescriptive in their practice. And we are seeing it. We are seeing it, and this report shows that. We need to continue our work in Tier 1. One of the things that I wanted to highlight for our esteemed board is that in our district, when you look at the pyramid for RTI, and that is on the bottom of the page, your students in your Tier 1 should really be most of your students. In an ideal pyramid, you want most of your students at grade level. And then your Tier 2 and Tier 3 should decrease and decrease till you have just a small percentage really at Tier 3. In our district, however, in looking at the rate of improvement report and in looking at the number of students assessed, in Tier 3 alone, in that report, we had 2,206 students that were at Tier 3. However, they are making high rates of improvement, which is very promising. In Tier 2, we had 1,871 students, and in Tier 1, we had 3,412. So just alone in Tier 3 and Tier 2, we have over 4,000 students. And then in Tier 1, we have 3,412. What that tells me is that we have a lot of work to do to help our students, and we are working hard to do that to ensure that our students in Tier 3 and Tier 2 make those gains. But it also shows me that we need to, just as we're working very hard to help our students with the most significant needs, we can't forget about our high-achieving students, and we can't forget about our students that are at Tier 1, because they also need to make gains. And statistically, when students are at a higher achievement level, it's harder for them to make those gains. So we must continue to use programs like Advanced Academics and Gifted to help these students so that they can continue to grow, and that's why these programs are so important. And we also have to continue to use Achieve 3000 and the way that it uses a Lexile level to ensure that the student is reading text at their level. And that's why I love our push in this district and this initiative of blended learning. And I want to take a moment to formally introduce our elementary reading coordinator, Ms. Donna Trigg. Ms. Donna Trigg joined us in her current position in November and has been an incredible addition to the curriculum team. She brings an incredible amount of knowledge about early literacy and has been working directly with our elementary teachers in pedagogy and in showing them the importance of literacy instruction. And really, I'll let her talk about that because she's just very knowledgeable about early literacy. And what we found in working together is that while we have great teachers with great hearts that care about our kids, they did not have the pedagogy to teach the early literacy skills of phonemic awareness and phonics. And so in also talking to principals and talking to them about areas where we could begin, kindergarten and first grade were the first grade levels that we chose to address immediately because our students come to us so strong from preschool, as you just heard with the data. And so I'll let Ms. Trigg talk about some of the work that she's been doing with our teachers.
Thank you. Thank you, and it's nice to meet y'all. Looking at especially our pre-K data and looking at how strong our pre-K students are coming out, we know that we have a great crop of kids that are ready to learn to read. And so looking at data and looking at where we've been with some of our levels of reading, it's looking sometimes like we go down instead of up with those kids. So I have spent a lot of time in our kindergarten and first grade classrooms working with the teachers and really building that pedagogy of understanding what does an early reader really need to leave strongly with, so that they are successful later. We've done some training. First thing in December when I came on, we did a phonemic awareness training with our kindergarten and first grade teachers. We all got on the same page, talking the same language, understanding that early reader. So really building that capacity across the district with all our K-1 teachers. Everyone attended from every campus. We had great dialogue, and it continues as we're breaking down the curriculum and looking at our TEKS and forwarding through that. With the implementation of Achieve 3000 and the Kid Bids piece for our 3-5 students and Smarty Ants for our K2, pre-K2, we have seen a great reception from the kids, one thing, and excitement about learning that literacy that way. So I believe that this is going to be a great impact on the scores and really help us in the future. Is there any questions you have for me?
Any questions from the board? Is it Ms. Trigg or Dr. Trigg?
Miss Trigg. Mrs.
Mrs. Trigg, I do have a couple of questions. And I understand these goals and goal progress measures were set before you got here, so you sort of inherited them.
Yes, sir.
And I understand the progress. When I look at all students at the second grade level, or first grade level, I'm sorry, right now we're at 40%. And the progress measure we set to be at our goal by 2020 was to be at 60% this year. Similarly, for second graders, we're at 50% now, and by May of this year, we hoped to be at 70. So there's about a 20% delta on both those. I know you haven't had a lot of time to look at the data, but in the last 3 months or so that you've been here, I mean, do you think some of the interventions that you have articulated are going to allow us to reduce that deficit and get us closer to being on track to where we want to be by 2020?
I really feel confident about that, especially, like I said, with the Smarty Ants program that we've put into effect. I've been meeting with principals, and I've been meeting with instructional specialists, different teams of teachers, and really talking about how we can implement that strongly to really build up our second grade. If we don't do that, then we're going to have the same kind of problems in third and fourth. So really meeting with the teachers, helping them to understand the data, understand how to pull the information from the programs. I feel confident in that there's something there that could be what we need.
I will say that I have a very close relationship with a certain second grade teacher in this district. Her students are excited about this Smarty Ants
They are.
program, and they're
Yes, sir.
excelling. And she said it's really something where they are very engaged, and so the blended learning piece there is definitely working, at least in one classroom in the district that I know of. I guess looking down the road, one of the things we did even prior to the Lone Star governance piece was we went out to the voters on a tax ratification election. And one of the goals that we set was by 2020, our third grade, 83% of our third graders would be on grade level. And again, right now we're at 50%. And I'm excited about the interventions. I'm excited about the things that both of you have laid out this evening. Do you think, part of the TRE funding, though, was to fund an additional instructional aid in every pre-K class, every kindergarten class, and then I guess one for every 2 sections at first and second grade. Do you feel like that's being implemented successfully? I mean, are we getting some benefit from that? You can look at some of these in a vacuum and say, well, we're not where we want to be, but do we feel like we're moving in the right direction because of the aids?
Yes, and that was another thing that we did in December is we pulled the aides all back in again. So we'd given them pretty much a program to follow through Saxton. We brought them back in to train them to differentiate with that. so that they are also meeting the needs of the student where they are. Instead of everybody just getting the same package, now the aides are working closer with the teachers and actually differentiating in that piece too. So we're trying to grow that piece along with it.
And that was so important, because if we don't differentiate, as you saw in the different tiers, and all the kids are getting the same lesson, we're not getting to the root cause. And so bringing them back in and having Ms. Trigg work with them so that they could gain this knowledge is so important. And that really elevates that role to where it really should be.
And you were able to do that with all the literacy aides at those primary grades?
We did it with all of the literacy aides in December. We brought them in, and we're going to continue making sure that they have training and support in that area. I try to make it out to the classrooms and sit with them as they are actually working with the students to try to gain an idea of what their understandings are and what level we can bring them to next.
Fantastic.
The other piece too is really developing our tier 1 instruction with our teachers. And then just recently, I've started going out into classrooms and working through their PLCs with smaller groups of teachers and really looking at the continuum of literacy and looking at how do readers learn to read in these smaller little chunks. And so we've had those conversations and have been studying that. So building our pedagogy up and our consistent understanding across the district of what young readers look like. And I feel like that is going to also play a big role, because it's not going to only support them in that tier 1 teaching, but when they go to do the intervention with the tier 2 and tier 3, it will also accelerate there.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I appreciate the answers.
Thank you.
Mr. Sykes?
Yes, thank you. When did we fully implement iStation?
I would say about, when I came on in 2015, we already had iStation.
Okay, all right.
So
It was
been
provided
at
by the
least
state in 2011.
in our district.
That's when it started.
I guess my question is, with the interval of reading data points or whatever, is that what will enable you to accelerate, I guess, the interventions and shifting interventions per se?
Absolutely. There's great reports on iStation that we can look at that are on, a couple of the reports I showed you, like the rate of growth is contingent on several months. But we have reports that we can pull on a monthly basis where we can look at specific skills.
Okay.
So for example, we can even pull them by student.
Okay.
And so we've also been doing a lot of work with our special education students, and we kind of split up in December, and, Ms. Trigg worked with the general ed teachers, and then I trained all of the elementary teachers on phonemic awareness and phonics. So we can literally pull students now, specific students, and see, is this translating to the classroom based on these reports?
Good. So as a risk assessment tool, it's functioning at a high level then to provide the information you need?
If it's being implemented with efficacy in the campus, yes. And one of the first things that we did earlier this year is I had Miss Lisa Monti provide training to all of the campuses, and we set specific timelines for assessment. And that was so important, because what I was finding is they were taking the assessment at different times, and it automatically resets after a certain amount of time, so then we don't have good data. So I think with those things in place, we can be comfortable that we can make decisions based on this data.
Okay. And that was my concern.
And that's a very good question, because that was our concern in making these decisions, to report on progress on the goals. We had to make sure that when students were taking the test at the campus, that it was the best testing environment so that we could make decisions based on that data.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Other questions from the board? Ladies, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, under the continuous improvement governance work is the PBMAS report for the Career and Technology Program. Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. By way of background, PBMAS is an acronym that stands for Performance-Based Monitoring Analysis System. It is a way that the state of Texas, particularly the Texas Education Agency, uses to monitor student outcomes and the improvement, particularly in the areas of bilingual education, special education, and last but certainly not least, career and technical education. I'm proud to introduce our Director of Career and Technical Education, who was recently named National Career and Technical Education Director of the Year for the country.
Thank you.
For those of you who think that's redundant, deal with it because that's a pretty big honor. And if you were to win it, we'd say your name 4 or 5 times as well. So with that, please allow me to introduce Donna McKethan.
Thank you so much. Good evening, and I would like to share with you our PBAMS report for Career and Technology. I would like to note that these students that we're looking at for PBMS are those students who have been identified as being coherent sequence takers. When we look at CTE, we have students that come in and randomly take courses. Maybe they're a senior year and they want to come in and see what photography is like. We also have students that take a coherent sequence of courses. They're in our academies. These are students that are taking multiple courses within the same pathway. And so these are the students that we're looking at in the PBA-MAS report. The first thing that I'd like you to see is our scores for overall CTE. And what we do is we look at how our students that are Code 2 or coherent sequence takers do in terms of the STAR test. You can see that we are above the state in the areas of math and social studies. We're right at the mark for science, and we have fallen below the mark in the area of reading. This is a trend that we're working on, but you will see that throughout this presentation. The next thing we look at is how our economically disadvantaged students score that are also coded CTE score, and it pretty much reflects the same data as the first. We have some high scores above state marks in both math and social studies, slightly below in science, and then once again, the ELL comes out as an area that we need to improve. In addition to looking at these two areas, we also look at our CTE students that are coded as limited English proficient. We have made some strides in this area, but there is much room for growth here. We're above the state once again in math, and our CTE, a lot of our CTE programs are strongly, there's lots of math and career and technology. I think that our students do quite well in this area because math comes alive for them. Oftentimes they always ask, why do I need to learn this? And in career and technology, we answer that question for them. However, there are some areas that we continue to need to work on here with reading and science and social studies. We also look at our special ed CTE students who are coded not only special CTE coherent sequence takers, but also STAR. In this particular area, we fall below the mark in all 4 areas, with our area of reading being the area that we need the most work in. And so you can see across the board that these are areas that our special ed students that we need to continually work with them as CTE teachers to see if we can't help our academic teachers to improve these students' performances. I want to show you this chart. This is a comparison of how our CTE students compare with non-CTE students who are special education. And you can see that except in the areas of reading, the second column are our CTE special ed kids. Our CTE students that are special ed are doing better in most areas than are our just special ed students. Once again, oftentimes special ed students will find themselves in a career and technology classroom. They gain confidence because they are able to do those things that they enjoy. Reading, math, and those types of courses and those content is presented to them in terms of the reason it's important in their future careers. And so they, as a whole, tend to do better than non-CTE special ed students. And so I wanted you to see that we are working in some areas that, you know, as we look at this, and you will see in future slides, we are spending a lot of time this year with our CTE teachers working with the area of reading. This is something, we're not reading teachers in career and technology, but we can reinforce the techniques of reading, and so we'll talk about that in just a second. Here's some really good, exciting slides. The state mark for career and technology annual dropout rate is 2.8, and Waco ISD CTE is 1.7. So we're way below that dropout rate that is expected for the state. The next, in addition to that, the next slide shows our annual graduation rate. The rate that we're supposed to meet for CTE graduation rate for the state is 80, and Waco ISD, our CTE students are at 92.8. And so we're very pleased with that, and we feel like as we work with our students, we can help our academic teachers with these scores, but also we feel like that our students are seeing the future is bright and are continuing down that path to graduation and future success. These are the expectations that we have set when Dr. Nelson came out with his Super 7. The CTE teachers said, you know, we want to take part in this. We want to make sure that our classrooms are rich and that they are adding to the academic success of students. You can see these are the goals that we as a CTE team established, that we would, in addition to the Super 7, we added a couple of extras. And so I want to point out one thing at the bottom there where it says CTE word wall. This is something that is new for us this year. When you go into a CTE classroom, you'll see two different kinds of vocabulary on the wall. One is what we call career vocabulary. Within each career, there are certain words that are unique to perhaps that career. That's sometimes in education, we have this whole string of letters. In welding, they have words. In criminal justice, we have words that are unique to that career. And so when the teachers create their lesson plans and they're working for their weekly lessons or their goals for their students, we want those career words to be out there because that creates that word, that language between them that will help them be successfully and transfer from the classroom to their future careers. We also provided the CTE teachers with academic vocabulary from math, science, social studies, and reading. And what the teachers have done is to take that academic vocabulary and commit to certain pieces of the academics that they can weave those vocabulary words into their classroom. So if there is a word perhaps on comparison or a word in math that they can reinforce, then on that vocabulary wall, you will also see that academic vocabulary. Oftentimes we do things in CTE and the students do it well, but we've discovered that we fail to use the academic vocabulary that they're going to see that same concept on in an academic classroom. And so one of the things we have added to our word wall is that academic vocabulary. We have done work with our CTE teachers on how to, with questioning techniques and questioning strategy as well as reading strategies so that they are using some of the same techniques in the CTE classroom that they're doing in their academic classrooms as well. There is a lot, sometimes a student would be more engaged in these CTE areas that they enjoy, that they've self-selected, and so we hope to help them learn those strategies so that when they go back to the academic classroom, they can apply them as well. The final slide just gives you an overview. In PBMAS, the best score you can get is a 0. And so you can see that we did drop in science, and this is something that we're looking at to see perhaps we can strengthen those courses that do have the science strand in them. We had a very little change in the LEP, and then in special ed we did drop in reading. Once again, as the teachers and I looked at this and looked at the data, we are committed to help with those reading strategies to help our students so that we can reinforce what they're doing in the academic classrooms from their CTE teachers.
Are there any questions from the board? Donna, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we're down to item 11, which is announcements. Mr. DeBeer?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have some exciting things happening between now and your workshop meeting in March. Coming up on February 26th, we have the night of one-act plays at 6 o'clock at the Performing Arts Center at University High School. That'll feature one-act performances by University and Waco High School, as well as the winner of our middle school one-act play competition. On March 2nd, we have the Young Men's Leadership Summit. We just had a very special event for young women last Friday. In fact, you can see a group of students behind you from Cesar Chavez Middle School who participated in that summit, and I think everyone left the Empowerment Summit feeling that something really unique had happened there, and we're looking forward to holding a similar event for young men who are leaders in our secondary campuses. On March 13th, University High School will face Waco High School in soccer. The boys play at 5 and the girls at 7 at the Waco ISD Stadium. And then on the 16th and 17th, our Waco High School cross-examination debate teams will head to the state tournament where they're debating education policy, and we're excited to see great things from them after that competition in Austin. So it's a busy month, to say the least. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeBeer. I want to follow up on something you said. I got to attend the very beginning of the Empowerment Summit, and I want to publicly thank Dr. Nelson and Dr. McDermott for her work, because that's the sort of project that's going to make a tremendous difference in this community. That, you know, that may not be taking 250 young ladies and showing them the importance of leadership and having confidence in their own skill set, may not have a direct impact on STAR scores or end of course exams. But what it will do is put those young ladies in a position to be better citizens and to contribute more to this community. And that's the sort of project that we can do. And I want to thank both of you for your leadership, because that was powerful.
May I make one announcement? I just want to be the first in the room to be sure and wish the Honorable Carrie Dupuy a happy birthday next week. So next Wednesday.
And Carrie, Larry Perez is not here to sing to you, but we'll let Alan sing to you after. Are there any other announcements from the dais? All right, hearing none, 7:50, we'll stand adjourned.